first thing they hear is breath by me. That's my breath.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to the Thunderheads Weekly Wrap Podcast. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube Live. We're psyched to have you. If you're listening to the podcast version, that's pretty cool too, I guess. I'm Brandon Soul, joined by the leader of the mob, Sir Jacob Niffen.
Hello, hello.
And, of course, the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Yes, sir.
Today, it's going to be a little somber at times. I mean, if you're a Thunder fan, you're tuning in, you know why. So we're going to discuss the Andre Robertson injury and how it affects the Thunder's approach to the trade deadline. We'll also discuss the Thunder's 8-game winning streak. We're going to discuss All-Star Paul George's play of late. But first, as always, on our weekly wrap-ups, we do the Disaster of the Week. So this week, your Disaster of the Week is brought to you by rawstory.com. Not our sponsor. That's just whose story it is.
That's because it's a story that is raw.
Yes. Here we go. A Tennessee man told police this week that Jesus personally came to him and told him to let him drive on his behalf.
Jesus told the guy to...
Correct. Like the Carrie Underwood song.
I was about to say, is he listening to Carrie Underwood?
I'm not sure. The result is that his car veered off the highway and,
No shit.
and then flipped over 5 times. Tennessee Highway Patrol officers say that when they arrived at the scene of the accident, 33-year-old Chad England was speaking gibberish and trying to flee the
I
scene.
think that's called tongues.
Trying to flee the scene while carrying a jar.
Just a jar?
A jar. We'll probably find out what was in the jar, I'm guessing.
I'm a little afraid.
Police.
I'm kind of impressed that the jar didn't shatter when the car flipped 5 times.
That's true.
That's a great
That's pretty
point.
impressive, man.
It's a strong jar. What kind of jar was it? You know, maybe that's...
There might have been some
good
strong
product.
aromas coming from the jar, and so maybe he had it saran wrapped or very tightly wrapped. You know, I'm saying maybe there were drugs in the jar.
Yes.
Okay. Police say that England was obviously under the influence of drugs at the time of the crash.
I would agree. I would agree.
Although the man apparently refused to take a blood test. A search of England's car revealed 6 grams of marijuana, 0.6 grams of cocaine, a pipe, rolling papers, a 3/4 empty bottle of Crown Royal, a small empty bottle of Crown Royal,
Oh, God.
and several cans for huffing.
See, I was expecting a crystal meth
Yeah.
bit of that.
He's
But that
above that.
I mean, that,
He's above that, dude. He's sticking to the huffing.
that combo is pretty solid, though.
He was getting effed up, man. Pot, cocaine, Crown Royal, and
Lots.
huffing? Like, what order do you do those in?
I guess you would start drinking.
I think it's E, all of the above, just at the same time.
Oh, that's deadly.
Just combo going for it?
It's just
Like, he's
it's
got like a little
buffet.
platter.
Yeah, it's
Like one of those TV dinner trays.
It's like silver.
Just lays out all of his drugs.
I
Just kind of a little of each one.
I can't imagine if you huff, you'd be able to do anything after that.
Right. So I would say start with the drinking, smoke a little, do some coke.
No, I think the coke comes second.
Okay.
Probably because then he's feeling
Okay.
good, does the coke, then he's like, ooh, I just want to relax.
Maybe I need to come down a smidge.
Yeah, smokes a little bit.
Get that weed in there.
Then he drinks a little more, and then he's like, oh, what are these cans? And he starts huffing. Dude, I think you're bleeding.
Oh shit, I am.
Oh, wow. All right.
Happens to the best of us.
Police arrested him and charged him, among with other things, DUI first offense, felony possession of Schedule 2 for resale, possession of Schedule 6, I don't know what these terms mean, and possession of paraphernalia. Officials also say that England had no driver's license in his possession.
That's why I needed Jesus to drive for him, man.
He said, bro.
He was trying to be responsible, guys.
He said, please help me out. I don't know how this works. I never learned.
I don't have my
Hey,
license.
Jesus,
I
can-
shouldn't be driving. Jesus, I need you.
Jesus, can you blow into my breathalyzer real quick for me, please?
Also, last but not least, his car, it wasn't insured.
You don't say.
This guy's a disaster, man.
Wow.
I mean, no wonder he needed Jesus. He's
Yeah,
a disaster.
He needs him. I feel like he could have helped out a little more, honestly.
Jesus?
Yeah, I've kind of bailed on the guy.
You can't blame Jesus on this one. It's not it. This guy's huffing. You know, come on. Jesus is so mad at you right now.
Yeah, I probably just upset him.
No Rob this week, as you can see if you're watching, so we have no rundown. But good news. Thunder went 4-0 this week. 1 versus the Nets. At home versus the Wizards. At Detroit. 76ers. That's an 8-game winning streak for the Thunder now.
Did you guys call that? I feel like I did.
You called the 8-game winning streak?
The 4 games.
Okay, that's what I thought. 8-game winning streak, and arguably the best basketball the Thunder have played all season long.
Totally.
So let's, we can touch on the Detroit game if we want during this discussion, but I kind of want to talk about the 76ers game because it was so thrilling. And we're also going to get to the Robertson injury, so we can talk about the Pistons game there. Is there a little mini rivalry brewing here between the 76ers and the Thunder?
I definitely think so, but I haven't watched a whole lot of 76ers games. I'm sure a lot of teams aren't too much of a fan of Embiid and his trash talk.
That's true.
I know Drummond and Embiid have gone back and forth a little bit this year as well. So
that's true. It just seems like Philly has legit talent. They're going to be scary in a couple of years.
Yeah, they're going to be really good.
Like watching Ben Simmons in particular tonight, like that guy was keeping them in the game in the second half.
Are they kind of like the Thunder were when, like, kind of that 2009 area where
when the Thunder started the process?
We started figuring everything out, and now it's like, oh, these guys are going to be crazy good later.
I mean, in that way, they definitely. I mean, their makeup is different.
Yeah, it's like a different positions. And
what I like about them, though, and this isn't a Philly podcast, but it is interesting. Like, they're a very interesting team because they're not. It's not like they're doing it the Warriors way. They have their own way about them. They have a big guy in Joel Embiid who's one of the best, if not the best, big men in the league. They have Ben Simmons, who is such a unique player, a LeBron-style player but can't shoot.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If Ben Simmons can develop a semi-consistent jumper over the next few years, that's when they start to get really interesting.
Yeah,
and if Fultz can, whatever
that's
is happening there. That's such a weird.
Yeah, that's
weird.
So after we're gonna get to the Robertson injury, like I said, but tonight was interesting because it was gonna be interesting all along without Robertson to see how Billy Donovan did these rotations. And I think that one thing about Billy Donovan throughout his history as the Thunder coach, you've never really known what you're gonna get in his rotations. And honestly, in these past 2 weeks since Robertson's been back in the rotation, they've been pretty common.
Consistent.
Consistent, yes. And then, so now I think we can probably expect them to get back to that, I'm going to play around a lot more. Tonight you had Grant closing the game.
Yep.
Is that what you expect going forward? Is he the Thunder's closer in that spot?
I think it's going to be kind of a game-by-game basis.
Kind of matchup thing?
Matchup, situational. Now, I do know that Billy Donovan post-game said that they're going to look at that to close games more often, basically sliding PG and Melo down and playing either Grant or Patterson at the 4 and then Adams at the 5. Mm-hmm. So, I definitely think it's going to be a situational thing where they're going to base it off of matchups. That's what I would assume.
I was kind of going to say, like, I would like it to be Grant or Patterson in that situation. But I would lean more towards Patterson more often, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder, what would it take for it to be Patterson? Tonight, it was interesting because Donovan went with Dakari Johnson for a little stretch. And Dakari did an okay job.
Yeah.
And it made sense because you have a guy like Embiid who's not, Embiid's a freak, but he's not, like, fast. He's not really going to beat you up the court. He might beat you up, but he might not beat you up the court.
And he'll move around you because he's got really nice post moves and everything. But.
Right, so maybe a stable guy like Dakari was a good option because you saw Patterson, and it's happened the past 2 games with Patterson. He's had to deal with Boban in Detroit.
Well, I was actually going to say I was kind of surprised that they didn't put Dakari in during that Pistons game because Boban was kind of working Patterson a bit. And
I know.
Like,
I was
like,
also saying.
Seems like he would work perfect right now.
Yeah, the Pistons were going to Boban every single possession, and he was scoring every single possession. And so now we talked about it a lot on this podcast. Maybe the Thunder's biggest need up to this point was that backup center position, and now the Thunder have 2 glaring holes on this team.
Yep.
They need a backup center, and they're missing Andre Robertson, their best defensive player, and maybe, if not the best defensive player in the entire league.
Yes.
But you saw it.
Agreed.
Billy Donovan rolled with Patrick Patterson against Joel Embiid tonight. And at first, it was a little iffy,
shaky.
But he kind of got it together a little bit.
He got it together, yeah. And when he came out and they put Dakari in was whenever Patterson busted his nose up. So maybe that had a little bit to do with it.
That's true.
But I did like that, they gave Dakari a little bit of minutes just to use that size,
Yeah, just 12 minutes for Patterson, no points, just a rebound. So it's not like he had a huge impact on the game. But back to Jeremy Grant, he did play 22 minutes, 3 for 7 from the field, 11 points, had a big bucket down the stretch.
He really did. Yeah,
and
and
made something out of nothing with like 4 or 5 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yep.
when I was kind of nervous when he first started doing it too because he kind of looked off Russ, I was like, I don't know if that was the best decision, and then he
Yeah.
pulled it off. So
Yeah.
I was afraid he
proud
was
of him.
going to pull the jumper there, and his jumper's been
Yeah.
not good this year. But yeah, he put the ball on the floor, got to his spot, and made a layup. And
If there's one thing you have to give him credit for, it's that he does have a lot of confidence. Even if it's unwarranted at times going to the basket, he has that confidence going to the basket.
Right.
And that's huge.
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
just the fact that he's not scared.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this team needs from these young guys. And
It seems like he's gotten a little bit less afraid of taking his shot too. Like they are not looking great, but
Right.
it's a little less hesitant, and I'm happy about that.
They mentioned on the broadcast, I think it was Doris Burke today, mentioned Jeremy Grant's been working with a new shooting coach.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that he's
Yeah.
been trying to kind of refine his shot a little bit. And you see it from he never misses 2 free throws.
Yeah.
Like he misses one a lot, but he never misses them both. You know, he
Yeah.
he always like squares in and makes one. Another thing I want to bring up about the Thunder during this 8-game winning streak, they've really started to find their groove offensively, where they are looking explosive at
Yeah,
times.
agreed.
Where you see this, a minute and a half stretch where it's boom, 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 10-0 run, and the other team has to take a timeout, and it feels like the Thunder have all the momentum. And almost as these games 2 months ago, as a Thunder fan, you're worried. You're like, oh no, like we're up 8, don't feel great. Now you're up 8, and you're like, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, we're
I
starting,
feel
we're
pretty
starting to
good.
get that confidence back where you can relax during a game
Mm-hmm.
kind of when they're up. But I mean, they still do lose leads when the bench comes in sometimes, and that happened tonight a couple times, and it was a little bothersome. But
I will say that Philly and Brett Brown, his rotation's a little different. He almost brings his starters out really early, puts his bench in, where his bench has to match up with the other team's starters. But then by the time like the Thunder's bench were to come in, he's bringing his starters in pretty soon after that. So
Right.
it creates a mismatch in that way, which is a pretty unique way to do it because a lot of coaches don't.
yeah,
really do
and
that.
I felt like he subs in Embiid and then like takes him out and subs him in a lot. You know, with Russell Westbrook comes out for one stretch in the first half and one stretch in the second half, and that's kind of it, right?
He's been doing that for how many years
Yeah.
now?
Exactly. And Embiid, it felt like, it was 2 or 3 times a quarter he was coming in, coming out. So, an interesting flow. And I also noticed that Philly almost never ran a lineup with a full bench unit. They always had 1 or 2 of those starters in there, it felt like.
Yeah.
And so, it really wasn't a bench versus a bench lineup. But
Definitely not.
So yeah, like you said, Philly's lineups and their rotations were just way different than anything that the Thunder ever do.
Yeah, if you go down the plus minus here, I mean, look at Philly's bench. Amari Johnson? Is that his name? What is it? Why can't Amari
Amir.
Johnson? Amir Johnson. I could not think of his name. Minus 18. Trevor Booker minus 13. Rashawn Holmes, who only played 6 minutes, which I thought, he's actually been pretty good for Philly all season long, and he found himself out of the rotation. I don't know if that's been what's been happening lately, but he was a plus 7. But then T.J. McConnell a minus 17, Justin Anderson a minus 12. So that shows you right there. When Philly did have those bench lineups out there, you were like, who's going to score for them? It almost made you feel good about the Thunder's bench.
yeah, like at times they looked a little off kilter, almost like I didn't feel like those guys had played a lot together.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
That particular lineups that he had out there at times.
They didn't have a go-to guy, and Justin Anderson's like, he's the guy that always will shoot that you never want to shoot.
Yep. And Justin Anderson and Russ have beef going back multiple years.
That's true.
And they were beefing tonight too.
I remember Justin Anderson back when he played for the Mavs, and he was like KD's defender, if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
remember, and he was doing a pretty decent job, and everyone at that time was like, this guy's gonna be good.
Yeah, because he was the one that
He's done
got
nothing.
in
Yeah.
the middle of the Russ and Cameron Payne like pregame dance. Remember
Oh,
that?
that's
yeah.
right.
That was
That's
Justin
right.
Anderson.
With the alien dude.
Villanueva.
Yeah.
Oh god,
Or
alien
according,
dude.
or according to Kevin Garnett, the cancer patient.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
either
that's
one.
so mean. Abrinas, 3 minutes, gets on the court for 3 minutes, fouls
3 fouls?
a couple times, 2 fouls.
Only 2. Okay. Oh, hey.
2 fouls came in against Detroit, which I talked about on last night's solo pod. He comes in 14 seconds later, foul. This is just who he is. I don't know. This might be, honestly, right now, until the Thunder, if they do make a move, this might be the biggest issue Donovan's going to have. The biggest kind of problem to try to work through is, what do I do if I can't rely on Abrinas? Because then you're limited to Grant, you're limited to Hustis, and you're limited to Felton as your backcourt rotation. And those guys, 2 of those guys aren't necessarily backcourt players.
Yep. And I don't think the question is, what do I do if I can't rely on Alex Abrinas? I think the question is, I can't rely on Alex Abrinas, so now what do I do?
Right.
I think it's pretty well established now. He can't rely on him.
Is he gone?
I don't think he's here past February 8th.
But you know
Presti's
what?
not going to trade him just to trade him.
Right.
You know, it's gonna have to be a deal that Presti really likes.
That's the scary thing because now, I mean, it's not like other teams aren't watching this.
Right.
They know what's going on with Alex Abrinas. Now,
Yeah, so like, is his value just plummeting every game?
that's the scary
It's
thing.
scary to me whenever he can't stay on the court for 10 seconds.
because his contract is very similar to Kyle Singler's right now, and his production is very similar to Kyle
Wilson,
Singler's right
yeah.
now. So
If somehow Presti trades Abrinas and Kyle for something good or anything at all,
he's the
that's
GOAT
more
then.
than like a package of socks, I would be very impressed.
That's the worry, though, because I think that Abrinas' contract, what is it, about 5.7 salary this year, that creates a little bit of flexibility for the Thunder as far as, you know, it's a decent chunk of money to send somewhere to get a decent chunk of money back in return. And so if no one wants this guy, you're kind of out of options here. You know, I mean, and so you don't, like you said, Jacob, you don't want to just throw in Abrinas as like, okay, fine, we'll throw him in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's not what you want to do
No.
because he's still relatively young, at least to his team and in the NBA. He's 25, 26 years old, second-year player.
Yeah.
And he's shown
And
a little promise.
he has a great shot. Like he's
Yeah.
got some stuff that he's got to figure out. But the good thing for him is that those things are teachable, I believe. Like it's at least not a shooting mechanic that he's never had before. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's something you could learn to be in the right position.
The guy played a lot more
defensively.
minutes last season,
Yeah.
and you know, it was on a worse team. So maybe all of this that's going on is too much for him.
It could
And so maybe another team, a bad team out there comes and they're looking to get some shooters and just some guys that maybe they can fill their roster. They can
Right.
put the ball in the basket here and there. And so maybe he holds some value there. And some guys can say, you know, we know realistically we're not going to win a championship. We're not going for a championship over the next couple of years. And they take a chance on a guy like Abrinas. I guess that's what you have to hope for.
Yeah, and you also have to think from Presti's perspective, or from other GM's perspective, I guess, of Presti. I mean, Presti can sell anything. I mean, look at what he got for Cameron Payne last year, and we were having these exact same discussions about
Right.
Payne. You know, so Presti has the ability to sell people on potential and cash out.
Yeah.
So
It's true. Another guy, Russ, today versus Philly, 3 for 14 to start. Ends up 14 for 33, which looks not good on paper.
Right.
37 on 33 shots. So if he started 3 for 14, that means he finished 11 for 19 from the field. So that shows you just how he kind of turned it up. You know, Embiid dunked right on him.
gave him the stare down.
Yep.
Not a smart thing to do.
Blocked him early in the game. Kind of felt like Embiid was in Russ's head a little bit. Russ cools off. Kind of just sticks to the plan.
Didn't I tell you guys
Owns the game.
earlier in the game? I thought it felt like Russ was going to get ejected from this game.
Yeah.
Like at the start, he just looked upset and was just not in it. And I was like, man, this feels like one of those that he's just going to lose his cool. And you're right. He held it together. He
Yeah.
kind of just flipped the switch and was like, I'm going to take over the game and be me.
And maybe it's just me choosing to ignore it, but I feel like it still goes a little too unnoticed around the league. With as great of a year as he had last year, especially in crunch time, and how clutch he's been that. I mean, obviously he's not hitting game-winning shots like he was last year because the Thunder haven't been in that position too often.
Right.
But he's closing
But
games.
when they have been, he's hit a couple.
He's closing games. The Nets earlier this week, the Pistons yesterday, today. I mean, he's doing what is necessary to close these games, and ever since he's just decided, I'm the MVP. I'm just gonna go play. This team has been a new team.
yep.
Agreed.
It's
And that was like December 1st is when PG said they all had that sit down kind of thing and talked about it. And then ever since then, he's been a madman again. And it's amazing.
you wonder what it would take for him to creep in that MVP discussion.
Has he not
I think
already?
he's starting
think
to
he
get
has?
back in there.
You think yes?
I think he's
Yeah.
got to be in there a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, people.
I don't think he's going to win it. I don't think they're
Yeah,
going to give it
but
to him 2
he's-
years in a row.
he's gonna
But
be
I
up
think he's
there
got to
in
be
the-
in a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what it would take for him to win it 2 years in a row. I don't think
that would be
voters want
incredible.
to give it to him.
No.
No.
He's got a huge hurdle because people don't like him.
Yeah, the Rockets are going to have such a good record. The Thunder would have to just finish in the 3rd seed, I think.
Like they would have to climb and just like not.
Yeah, the
lose
Thunder would have
many
to go on
games.
like a crazy,
Yeah.
like this 8 would have to span up to like 16, 18.
Yeah, if they
And
went on,
Russ would have to average another triple-double, I think, for him to like get legit.
which he's not
top.
super far off from
Yeah.
doing. Although I think he hasn't.
He's like a half a
Had the
rebound away from
rebounds,
it.
Yeah,
Just
a
half
couple.
which honestly is fine with me. I don't want him having to work his ass off
Yeah.
for rebounds. All right, let's move on to Paul George. Officially named an All-Star.
All-Star PG.
The All-Star replacement for DeMarcus Cousins. He deserved to be there. Now he gets to be there. Jason, you and I talked about it on the last podcast. Is this a hit to Oklahoma City's chances of retaining him?
Right.
Well, now in turn, is this a big deal? Is this a good thing? Does this, even if it's slight, does this help the Thunder's chances in retaining Paul George?
I think it does, because, I mean, so it's still not like him getting in on the first round of voting and all that stuff, and it sucks. It really sucks about Boogie. I want to say that first of all, because that's really terrible.
Yeah,
because he was having such a great year finally, and like seemed like he had put everything together, and he wasn't being that that guy.
And
he's always been.
It's been a thing that's been. Yeah, you're right, and he needed more credit for that because
no one's been talking about it, and I'm like, this guy's been great.
Had an awesome year, and as a lot of people pointed out, who knows if they would have finished in the 8th seed in a fun Warriors-Pelicans matchup, too. Like, I mean, they were like the 7th seed or 6th seed.
Yeah, that's true.
But if they would have fell back even to the 8th seed, a potential Warriors-Pelicans
awesome.
clash of two worlds, that would have been
complete opposites.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it, say PG didn't get this reserve spot, like say it went to Chris Paul or someone else like that would have sucked. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a big deal for him, and
it's in LA, like we talked about last time, his hometown.
He's really excited to play there.
Yeah,
and
he's on the same team as Russ.
Yeah, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a big deal.
Definitely, and they came out and they basically said that he was the next in the vote getting.
Right, yeah.
For the MVP, or not for them, sorry, for the All-Star game.
For the coaches.
Yeah,
the coaches
so
that makes it like a legitimate thing.
Yeah, it's not like they were just like, oh, let's just take PG, Like you were saying, it would suck if they were taking Chris Paul instead. Well, this shows that PG was like literally just right there.
Right. And someone tweeted out yesterday, I can never remember people, so I don't ever give them the credit. But anyways,
just
I'm just swooping this
You'll
from this
know
guy.
if it's you.
But someone tweeted out, like, this couldn't have happened in a better way for OKC, really, because Russ got to have PG's back, and that really made a big impact on PG, obviously, from what he said. And then he also gets to be in the All-Star game.
Hey, it's a win-win.
So it's kind of
it's really nice.
That's a pretty good point.
Deal.
That's a really good point. It's going to be fun
Thanks,
watching them
mystery Twitter.
as All-Star teammates, too.
Yeah.
On the same team as Kevin Durant. They should freeze him out. Don't pass it to Kevin Durant.
Yeah, because Kevin Durant doesn't have any of his regular teammates on that team.
Right.
So, they should just fuck with KD the whole time.
That'd be fun.
Also, I just saw that
PG really likes him. So
sources say the winner of the All-Star game, every player on that team gets $100K.
Oh.
So maybe they'll play a little bit harder.
So that's like
Not
more
like that's-
incentive to play hard.
I
to
guess
make it
so.
competitive.
What's that, like $100 to them?
Basically. And, it's only 3.5 years of my salary, to win a fucking basketball game. Like, are you kidding me?
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, but they're really good.
I'm
so.
excited about the All-Star game this year. And then another thing about Paul George is his comments to Rachel Nichols earlier in the week that were interesting about the All-Star game and about Russ having his back. Rachel Nichols simply asked, how did it feel to have Russ have your back like that? And Paul George responds saying, here, I have the quote right here. He says, Russ is the reason why this decision is becoming even more easier to make.
Even more easier.
Is the character Russ... wait, I messed that up. Russ is the reason why this decision is becoming even more easier to make, is the character that Russ has. A stand-up guy, and he has his teammates back. So he, not even asked about the decision, unprompted, answers about the decision and said, I mean, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, to bring that up, like you said, unprompted, like she didn't ask anything about that.
Right.
Like she was just asking, how does it feel to have a person have your back? And he's like, well, I'm going to tell you that I'm kind of thinking about staying here.
I mean, that's essentially
what
he
like.
said. So, is that fair to feel like that if you're a Thunder fan? Is it fair to get a little psyched, or are we so jaded at this point?
I'm very nervous about getting excited about
I
these
think
things.
you can get excited, but I would say get excited with also take a mountain of salt with it.
Right.
Not a grain, but a full mountain.
It's a lot of salt. You could get diseases and stuff from that.
It's
I guess some encouraging things. Really, there haven't been any discouraging things aside from the Thunder's slow start.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, other than that, these guys act like they're really having a good time playing together. You've heard nothing but good things coming out of the locker room. I know the Thunder do a really good job of protecting those things that come out of the locker room. But this is a good sign.
It's a great
It's
sign.
really
better than
good
him
sign.
saying, I really don't enjoy playing with Russ. I mean, if he's going to
Which
say
would be
anything,
weird.
I want him to say what he said. That's
Sure.
that makes me feel good. But also, free
It's
agency is a long ways away.
To me, and maybe this is just like digging way too deep and almost wishful thinking, but it's like he just was waiting to say that.
Yeah.
I just want to say this.
Does that kind of make you feel like he's like 90% already made his decision?
I kind of like when he's saying it makes it even more easier. I mean, not great grammar, but it does. It's very encouraging.
Yeah, and I can't remember if we talked about this on the podcast, but about that if this decision has been weighing on his mind, that's obviously going to bleed onto the court.
Right.
Right?
When it seems like he's gotten really comfortable lately. But before we get there, you remember when Rob was all concerned that Russ wasn't pitching to PG enough? There's the pitch.
Yep.
He just did it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a pretty good job.
That
But
is
anyways,
No, he has been comfortable on the court
he
lately.
seems a lot more comfortable, and he's killing it lately.
Really finding
he's been
his spots.
torching teams.
And both sides of the ball been
Right.
killing it.
Yeah. He's getting to the free throw line at a high rate.
I feel the same.
He's been aggressive. He's been what we wanted him to be.
Yeah, he's making
Finally.
his opportunities count. When he's getting his touches, he's making them count. Like these guys are starting to really have a feel for each other on the court, and it's huge. And my point about if this decision was weighing on him throughout the season, that's obviously going to bleed onto the court. If big
Huge
if he feels like he's going to stay at least a year, wouldn't that give him a little more freedom to just go out there and play? Just no worries. I'm just gonna go play. I know what my future holds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean if it kind of
I'm trying to connect dots
gets it
here.
out of your mind. Like if you're like, well, I feel like I'm probably gonna stay.
Right.
Like depending on what happens, I'm just
done
gonna not
worrying
think about it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go play and enjoy this, and then I'll decide later. But I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna be here.
I mean, because first of all, it's impossible.
I'm really projecting my own hopes on him hardcore there.
As a human being, though, I mean, it's impossible to not think about that stuff, right? You
Yeah.
got next year coming.
Yeah, like they say that all the time. That like, oh, I don't even think
Yeah,
about that
right.
until it comes. That's
a damn
bullshit.
lie. It's a damn lie.
Bullshit. And they always think about it because how could you not?
All right, well, let's move on to the more somber.
No.
The Robertson injury happened. Third quarter? Was it the third quarter?
God, please,
Or was it
no!
early?
No!
It was
About
the third
3.5 minutes left in the third.
So it was in the third quarter versus Detroit. Goes down, ruptures his patellar tendon. The same knee, talked about on the solo pod last night, the same knee that he had the tendonitis in. I did read a little bit about that. It shouldn't be related, just kind of coincidental.
And also, I feel like they really gave him time to recover from that too. I thought they were pretty careful about
Sure.
it. So.
And he seemed like he was feeling well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Thunder are
He's
pretty
playing really well.
conservative with that stuff,
Right.
too, so.
So I want to ask you guys first. I mean, this is a very broad, easy question, but just how big of a blow is this to this team?
It's definitely going to affect the Thunder are closing in on that 3 seed. After the win tonight, they are 1.5 games out from San Antonio for that 3 seed. I really question if they can climb now. Honestly, depending on matchups, it makes me really worried about the first round.
We know
Right.
that this team's been elite defensively with Robertson on the court, and we know that they've been shit defensively with him off the
Right.
court.
Yep.
So that's I was gonna say it's a massive blow to them because of that very reason.
Yeah, and I'm sure the true Thunder defense lies somewhere in between.
Right,
It's
yeah,
not as
it's-
extreme.
Yeah, it's. But also, everyone's kind of talked about like how bad he is on the offensive side, and I think Doris brought this up, and it's been mentioned a couple times how their offensive rating without him in
Isn't
the
that
starting
bad.
line, it's really just like a point difference.
Yeah.
So he actually, I feel like, has been helping this offense. Like whenever he was out, the offense really took a while to figure anything out. Like they had to retool.
When
what
he
they were
went
doing.
out, they had a couple of good games. They like sustained it, but then they dipped.
Yeah.
They dipped hard.
Yeah, and I felt like he was a really big part of getting the ball to move and cutting and
Yeah.
doing stuff like we talked about whenever he came back. He was doing stuff that not other person on the team does.
I think he's part of getting these guys comfortable.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
deserves credit of getting these
A
guys
lot.
comfortable.
100%, right.
Because like we talked about it a lot. The Thunder have some of the best role players as far as knowing their role and just sticking to it. When you talk about Steven Adams and Andre Robertson, the ultimate role players. It's huge.
I would agree.
I mean, is it equivalent to losing Steven Adams or maybe not quite?
For this team, I don't think it's quite
Yeah.
that bad, just because of how
Yeah, it's like 80% of losing Adams,
Yeah.
probably.
just like how extreme we rely on him because he's the only big guy we have that hasn't.
Here's a fun question. Is it more of a hit than it would be to lose Carmelo to injury?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
It probably is.
I
isn't
feel
it?
like it is.
I feel like
It's pretty close.
It's crazy.
I really like.
I mean, you lose firepower with Melo, obviously. But
Yeah, Fred Katz had a tweet yesterday that I thought just encapsulated it perfectly. That you're not just losing a wing defender in Dre. Like, Dre is so good at defense that he makes the other players around him better at defense. You know, kind of like how a good point guard makes everyone else around them better.
Sure.
And a lot of, I feel like PG's like defensive stats this year, the deflections, the steals, etc., come off of good plays from Dre as well, you know?
Definitely.
And so that really worries me. Like, I was 100% on board with playing Houston in the second round because I thought OKC would match up incredibly with them. And then now you really have to question it.
That's where it hurts. You're right. You're dead right about the Paul George thing, because now, guess who has to guard the best player on the team?
Paul George.
Paul George. I mean, no longer Robertson takes that role. And when Robertson does take that role, especially against these teams that aren't elite, like not the Houstons, not the Golden States, but against these other teams, Robertson guarding those guys gives Paul George that freedom to gamble.
He can just kind of roam and do what he needs to do.
And he's so good at it.
Incredible.
That is, I mean, what a perfect
Yeah, they were like
role
the
for
perfect.
Paul George.
Well, and those two guys are like the perfect defensive tandem. Like, to have them is
Right.
amazing, and that's one of the reasons I was so excited when we got Paul George.
Yeah.
I was like, our perimeter defense is going to be amazing.
I didn't even realize how good it was going to be, but you know, Dre isn't one of the league leaders in steals, but Dre is one of the reasons that Paul George is
Yeah,
the league leader.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
He and Russ.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the huge reasons. I completely agree with that.
So that is where it hurts. And you know, if you think about a hypothetical matchup with the Rockets, obviously I think you stick Paul George on Harden, but you worry about foul trouble. But I mean, they're obviously going to screen Paul George every possession anyways, and you saw that a lot with Robertson. Robertson didn't really get in foul trouble with Harden because they basically screen him, and he doesn't end up guarding him at the end of the possession anyways.
Right.
It's about making him work. But Paul George is so good at getting over screens and stuff. But now you have to put Russ on Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. You can't hide him over on Ariza, which isn't really hiding him, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you can't. I mean, it changes a lot of things, mostly against those two teams, the Rockets and the Warriors.
Right. Well, and like it kind of, last year where we had like Robertson and Taj switching between Harden, we were the kind of idea was now you could do that with Robertson and PG. Now who's that other guy that gets that switch? Is it like T. Ferg? And that's a little frightening.
That's so frightening.
Like,
That's why. And
he's going
get
to foul
fouled
every time.
So fast.
I know we're not to this point in the podcast yet, but that's why I think
We can be there.
it's now
Could be whatever you
even
want.
more likely that the Thunder make a trade.
Well,
because,
that was going to be my next question. So what percentage chance do the Thunder make a move?
we got to move it up to like 85%, I think.
And
Yeah,
that
I
might be
was-
low for a lot of people.
Yeah.
out there.
I was going to say 80, but that's probably
Like,
low. You're right.
I just can't picture Sam Presti in this kind of pivotal year of the Thunder with Paul George free agency looming.
Mm-hmm.
This summer is really a crossroads for this franchise. Like, which path are we going down? And that all kind of hinges on Paul George's decision. Are you going to roll into the postseason with a 19-year-old rookie playing significant two-guard minutes?
There's no chance they want to do that.
No.
Although, I mean, as impressive as Ferguson has been at times defensively and even offensively at times, you just can't. You can't. Not against these guys. They're too good. They're too good. They know all the tricks. They'll get all the calls.
Right, yeah, like and even if you played immaculate defense, like he's still gonna get called for stuff because he's a rookie. Like it's just he hasn't established that with I think the refs. It seems like that happens. Like you remember Steven Adams always used to get called for everything.
That's the
It's like
rookie year.
Jesus, man.
Yeah.
He's like just staying there vertical.
And now he's learned to stay physical without fouling.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
but also just that experience,
Sure.
plays such a huge role.
And I think
especially when you get to the playoffs.
It's almost like you earn your whatever you call it with
Your stripes?
with the refs. Reps. God, I can't speak. So what does Oklahoma City do until they make a move? Start Ferg?
I think so.
I think
I think that's just going to be the thing. I mean, Billy Donovan said tonight it's going to be a fluid thing, which is kind of interesting that he said that. It's not like he said it's going to be Ferguson until further notice. He just said it's going to be a fluid
right.
thing, like whatever. Should they try to match up? How do you feel about Houston potentially starting? Or do you think Ferguson is just the best option?
I'd prefer Ferg over Houston starting.
I would too.
I mean, I think Houston will remain continue to get his same role minutes and everything.
I think Ferguson's a better player than
Yeah,
Eustace.
I do too. I think I think he's better.
Yeah.
For sure.
Which also, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't mind seeing the thing about Patterson coming in. You know, that idea has been floated a little, and
and then sliding Melo up to the 3.
yeah, a little. So I don't love that. I kind of like the way things have been going. It seems like it's working out. Because it seemed like when Robertson was out, they started to figure out how this whole T-Ferg thing works. So I just keep rolling with it.
That's my thing. I'm okay with T-Ferg staying in the starting position. He doesn't have to, play the first full quarter or whatever. But I like keeping that solid 5 kind of solidified and then playing with the rotations on the back end of that.
Going back to tonight's game against Philly, Billy Donovan left the starters in with T-Ferg, everyone, the entire starting lineup in until about 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Not a single sub until cool. 2 minutes left. It's kind of interesting. It makes you think that he was just trying to get those guys more time together. Just keep playing.
Agreed.
What if the Thunder can't make a significant move? Because you would assume that their goal is to make a move for a guy that can come in and start at that 2-guard position.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I kind of am worried about that. Like what we were talking about, like, what if nobody really wants Abrinas that bad? And, like, what else do we have?
And other teams are going to sense this desperation. They know.
Yeah, they know you need it.
Yeah.
So they're going to make you pay for it,
they're
right?
going to try to suck you dry.
But Sam is a wizard. We have to keep that in mind. He is a wizard.
It just takes one team.
And, yeah, it just
takes
takes the one.
You're right, it does. And
I feel like, maybe people feel bad for us. Maybe they want us to beat.
You think they're just gonna be like,
they're like,
it's a little charity.
Try to beat the Warriors.
Brandon just a few minutes ago asked us our percentage chance that we think the Thunder make a deal. Let me add on a little bit to that. What do you think the percentage chances the Thunder make a deal and they trade away Terrence Ferguson? If you had to put a percentage on it, 8.
I was gonna say 10.
Yep.
I don't want it.
I was
to
thinking about this
all.
today. Like the rarest commodity in the NBA right now is a 3-and-D wing.
Yeah.
And
why would you get rid of this?
You have a very promising 19-year-old 3-and-D wing. I don't see trading that away.
He's probably the Thunder's best asset out of their big 4.
Yeah.
Outside of their big 4, I mean.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
I would think
I
so
don't
for
think
sure.
I don't think he can,
super young.
Right.
And he's earned starting minutes, like, with an injury, but
yeah,
I mean, he's earned that spot. I think.
I don't think they're trading for.
I didn't expect him. If you had asked me before Dre got hurt, like, oh, do you think they're gonna use Ferguson?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I don't see why they would. I mean, that's the scary thing, though, is that, like, without using him, do they have the proper assets?
Yeah.
But
Aaron Yont from YouTube Live said, people don't feel bad for us, bro. We got Russ, PG, Melo, and Adams.
Good point.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Good point. So what are the Thunder going to be looking for here? Are they going to be looking for a guy that can come in and start?
I almost think you have to.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they target a guy that's possibly like a rental and target a guy that you're not going to replicate what Dre does, but somebody in that same mold. One name that I've already found kind of interesting is like Tony Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring him up.
So sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Parade.
No, you're good.
But just somebody that can come in and kind of not fill Dre's shoes, but can kind of do the same job. That way, we don't have to retool the entire
figure
thing.
out everything again.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I mean, there's zero chance, and I mean zero chance, that the Thunder are gonna make a move that completely fills what you lose when losing Andre Robertson. Yep. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
The Thunder have lost more than they'll ever get back.
Right. Well, and one thing I think with a trade is you also don't want to sacrifice your future to just fix this right now.
Where's the balance at in that? Mm-hmm. Because Presti is placing a lot of importance on this season and wants to give this team the best possible chance to succeed.
Yeah, because it's very important for them to end up doing well.
Yeah, but how do you do that without, gambling away the future, and I feel like it's a very fine line you have to walk, and he wasn't going to have to walk that line until Saturday at about 6 p.m. Central Time. Yeah. And God, can you imagine what his office was like today?
But you have to imagine that Presti went into the season realizing that something like this, there is a possibility of it happening. You would think that he has
contingencies in place for every situation.
An idea, exactly. You would think, because injuries happen, and the Thunder have been fortunate this year up until this point, as far as injuries
Why can't this
go.
shit ever happen to the Warriors, man?
That's
a good point.
It happens to us all the time.
Well, important note: Thunder do have 2 small trade exceptions, a $2.55 million one and a 1.49. I believe one of those is Victor Oladipo.
One's Oladipo, and the other is...
Who's the other one?
It's not Ersan Ilyasova.
That's expired.
It's too
right
late now. Yeah. Is it that one?
What was the trade they made at the deadline last year? It's going to be part of the Gibson trade, the Taj Gibson.
Is
trade.
it?
Has to be.
I can find out.
It's the campaign thing.
Has to be part of that one.
Yeah.
That's the thing though. Are they going to try? How do you do it? How do you do it in the trade deadline? Because if 12 noon rolls around and you're like, well, we're not getting that starter coming here.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that I've thought of. What if they look at free agents? Thunder have 14 on their roster right now. You can bring in a free agent at the minimum, and it's going to be prorated at this point. So I have a list of free agents here, wing free agents that the Thunder could maybe look at, and I want to see what you guys think about them. Okay.
All right.
Dante Jones, old.
Yeah.
Real old.
But
I feel like he's real old.
But these are gonna a lot of these are gonna be able to provide some things that I don't know, some teams would like. Alonzo G. I feel like he's been out of the league for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Seems like it's been a while.
Rodney Stuckey.
He's not awful.
He'd be all right.
He was awful in his last season in Indiana, and I believe they cut him.
Like the year before that, he did pretty well though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
he had
you're
a
right.
pretty good year.
Yeah, maybe started just eating pizza and saying
Yeah.
that.
So
Me.
I'm out.
Here's one you guys will like. Monte Ellis.
God damn it.
Play the sounder.
I wanted to ask you guys though.
God damn it.
Is there any chance that the Thunder target offense here? Because they're like,
maybe.
there's no way that we replace what Robertson brings to the table defensively.
So let's just go the other direction.
Right,
See what
so
happens.
I think that's like, that's fair to think, but I don't know. I lean more towards, even though they're not going to get what Robertson replaces, if we can get 70% of Robertson in here, that way we don't have to restructure everything.
Well, and to me, if you bring in Ellis, like
Well,
I don't.
I wasn't necessarily talking about Ellis, but
Oh yeah. But so you just on that point
Mm-hmm.
of Ellis, like I wouldn't see him as I would start Ferguson above him.
oh yes,
yeah.
yes.
And definitely bring him off the bench.
Definitely.
And
I mean,
so
I
that's
think
like
if,
a different thing.
If you're
but-
signing a free
That'd be-
agent, you're probably starting Ferguson,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Also, just to throw this out there, those trade exceptions are Oladipo and Sabonis.
Oh,
They got trade
two of
exceptions
them.
on both of them.
Interesting. Here's another one. Former Thunder Randy Foy.
Oh god, I don't want to go through the Randy Foy experience again.
I
I
would
like
not
the
be
guy.
surprised at this one. Gerald Henderson.
I didn't know he wasn't in the league anymore.
He's a free
This
agent.
is one of those that faded away.
Yeah.
Marcus Thornton, guy that can shoot the ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could be all right.
was
Anthony
in
Morrow
Houston.
is still out there.
Yeah, and
I'm all for
Amo.
Amo, baby.
But he's not going to play. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just not an NBA
Yeah,
caliber
he does.
player right now.
But I love him.
Here's an interesting one to me. Alan Anderson. He's a guy that's had some.
I don't remember
He's
this
a
guy at
former
all.
Oklahoma State guy, isn't he?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Maybe I'm thinking the wrong Anderson.
Yeah, I don't think so. But he
I don't think
he
so,
spent some time with the Nets, the Clippers, and I want to say the Wizards. And last one, Mike Dunleavy. So slim pickings here. Obviously maybe not ideal, but it is interesting. Maybe if the Thunder don't want to lose any depth,
Yeah.
and they maybe just want to sign a guy and just add to depth, give them more options off the
Yeah.
bench.
Right. Well,
They-
that's something we've talked about is, it's really frightening for this team to trade two players away for one.
Right.
Or-
And it almost feels like that's what they're
and,
going to have to
like,
do.
how are you
Yeah.
going to just trade Abrines straight up for somebody that's good?
So maybe you could do a little bit of both. Maybe you do that 2-for-1 trade and then you bring in a free agent.
Definitely. And although I will say I don't think they're going to hit that free agent market until after buyout season. And if they can't hit any of the buyout guys that maybe they would target, that list that you just brought up would probably be like a last case scenario list, right?
Yeah, that's true. You wonder what kind of buyouts there are at the wing this year, though. You don't,
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you could go through it and probably find one or two.
Yeah. I do feel like maybe Presti's a little upset because, they were all talking about him being executive of the year. And then now that it wasn't working for a while, that kind of lost steam.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's about to be like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
I'm about to get
I like the
fucking
way you think.
some badass for Abrines.
Hey,
and it's
you
going to
know
be incredible.
One thing Presti has done in the last year is make moves that no one thought was possible.
Yep.
And that's the thing looking at this roster is you're like, what's possible with this roster? It feels like it's definitely not possible. But he might just prove us wrong again.
It was James Anderson was the OSU guy.
Okay.
Oh,
Thanks.
that's right. Yeah.
Thanks to Aaron Ewald.
He played for the 76ers and I think for the Spurs.
Yeah, he played for the Spurs. I
Yep.
knew that for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, Alan Anderson played at Michigan State. So he's probably going to be under some sort of investigation
How old
soon.
is Alan Anderson?
Alan Anderson, 35.
Ooh, he's old.
Ooh,
I got some trade targets
it's
for
up
you.
there.
And
Let's do it.
Awesome.
we have our trade. You tell them about it.
We have a Thunder trade deadline primer article coming up at okcthunderheads.com. We're putting that up in the morning on Monday.
Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow at some point.
If you're listening,
We'll try them. We'll go for the morning. How
There's
about that?
actually 2 parts to it. The one part is the part that I spent 2 weeks writing, and then the other part is the part where I said, "Oh shit, Andre Robertson just tore his knee,"
Yeah.
and everything I wrote is now like
possibly
old. Yeah,
different.
and it like doesn't fit anymore. So then we wrote an addendum to it, and that'll be up as well.
Yeah, that'll be dropping tomorrow, so look out for it on www.okcthunderheads.com. All right, so I got a name for you. This name is in the article, so there's a little sneak preview for you. Courtney Lee from the New York Knicks. He's got 3 years left on his contract. $36.7 million. That's about $12 million a year. He would come in and be a starter.
100%. I love the idea of Courtney Lee, except for those 3 years.
The 3 years is the tough one here.
You're going to be paying him $13
a lot
million
of
when he's 35.
lot of money.
The good thing about Courtney Lee is he's a veteran, and if you want to look to trade him next year, you probably can.
Yeah,
That's true.
You know what I mean? To
That's
another
true.
team that's looking for a guy like him. But you're also talking about $12 million in salary, or roughly. Which they have those trade exceptions, but you can only use one in a trade.
Right.
You can't use both. So you can maybe use that. You got to send out $10 million here.
Yep.
So you got to some combination of
Kyle and Abrinas are gone.
Kyle
Perfect.
Abrinas.
Abrinas, Grant plus a second rounder.
I almost worry about if the Thunder can afford to lose Grant now at this point.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I'm kind of.
That's true.
I'm not so sure about that being a great idea now.
I'd much rather send out Hustis.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Hustis is probably a better on-ball defender. Maybe not.
Would it be super
Actually.
bad to send out Abrinas, Hustis, and Singler? If you could do that, I'd be for that.
Hell yeah, but you have.
But can you?
They're gonna want to pick.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you're gonna have to throw in that
Damn it.
one of those second rounders.
Yeah.
And right now the Thunder can't trade a first round pick until 2024.
Right.
You know, so
Huge issue.
the closest thing they have to a first round pick on this team is Terrence Ferguson.
Any chance they look to trade a guy like Patrick Patterson for wing help?
I think it's a possibility. I've always wondered, are they going to keep Patterson and Grant together, or is one of those guys gone and then they pick up like a more traditional big in the buyout market?
Because honestly, it's not like they've been using Patterson like crazy this year.
Right.
And so if you can bring back a guy that you're going to use more and utilize more,
It does seem
makes
like
sense.
Patterson's kind of starting to find his groove
Sure.
a little, and he's been a lot more useful lately.
Definitely.
I think he's a plus player and a guy you can trust in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
and that's what I'm worried about sending him out. Is like I feel like
But
he's
then-
useful,
Also, on
But-
that same coin, like
but is he that useful?
you have Patterson at a really good contract for 3 years compared to Grant's a free
leaving.
agent this summer, and you're probably not going to be able to retain him.
Yeah.
You know, so
So send Grant maybe.
Grant maybe makes a little bit more sense. I don't know.
It does make more sense, but I just
I'll tell you what,
wonder-
I don't envy Presty's job.
No.
This shit stresses me out, and we're just doing this for fun.
I know, man. Here's my favorite name. Jonathan Simmons.
I like it a lot.
I love it.
This is the one I want. You know what? I don't think he comes in and starts. I think he's a bench player just because it makes sense. He's that energy bench guy, you know what I mean?
I could see him closing, though.
Yes, absolutely closing. He's on a 3-year, $18 million contract. That's $6 million a year. That third year is non-guaranteed, though. I think this is a Thunder guy. He's played for the Spurs. He's been there. He's guarded James Harden in crucial series. This is a guy makes a lot of sense to me.
I agree. And the good thing about that 3-year contract, it's one of those reverse contracts where the money decreases year by year instead of increases.
Those are very good
so
for
it
us.
would save the Thunder money on the back
That's
end.
the perfect situation.
I
Yeah.
think the worry here is if the Magic would want a guy like Abrinas, because that becomes a little redundant with him and Hazonia.
Exactly. And can you throw Grant in that pile, because they already have like Aaron Gordon
Right.
and
Jonathan
Jonathan Isaac,
Yeah.
so they don't need a big. So what
But
kind of deal can
they
you
are
get
the
done?
Magic, and they're kind of dumb.
That is true. And I think there's something to be said about teams trade with other GMs that they're familiar with. And the Thunder and the Magic are very familiar with one another.
Yeah, although the GM's not the same one anymore.
Yeah,
He works for
that's
the
true.
Thunder now, which is kind of
Alright,
funny.
So, this is a different person.
Okay.
DZ from YouTube brought up Etwan Moore.
That's an interesting one,
With
but
the Pelicans kind of falling into trouble, do you think they would do that though?
I don't know why they would.
Neither do I. The one
He
thing they
seems to
need
be-
is wings.
Yeah, and he's like a much more consistent one than they would be getting back.
Yeah,
That's for
they
sure.
they need wings really bad. And
Just tried to put my jacket on. I put the wrong arm in the.
you put it in the wrong hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
Tends
happens.
to happen, man.
I know. All right, next one. This is the big one. We have I don't know how many questions. How many Twitter questions came in on this
A
one?
lot.
Avery Bradley for the Pistons having really a kind of a shit year.
Kind of a down year for him.
He's on. It's 1 year left on his contract, $8.8 million. So this is more of a workable contract for the Thunder a little bit.
He's had a nagging hamstring injury all year though too.
Has he?
Yeah,
I
he's
did not
kind of
know
been
this.
in and out with it. So
He's not had a
it's
good
on
year.
a fantasy team. It's been a real bummer.
He didn't have a great year last year. He's not the defender that maybe he once was, but he is he's a more capable offensive player than maybe these guys we've mentioned.
Definitely.
I also think with him being on Detroit is probably not the best situation for what he does, right? Like, see, he's having to, especially without Reggie Jackson, he's having to do a lot more than he's ever had to with Boston.
That's true.
And so, like, I think if he came here, I think you're going to see a lot different player than he has been
He
this
becomes
year,
a
for sure.
fifth or sixth option here.
Yeah, and he's got like great playoff experience. You know,
And this is purely a rental. If he comes
Oh,
in,
yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah,
because
for
there's
sure.
going to be other teams that would
We'll pay him.
Yeah, they'll pay him.
They'll pay
definitely more than what the Thunder will be able to. So would he be worth giving up Abrinas, who you're going to have another 2 years, and Eustace, and maybe a second round pick? Is that worth it in this situation that the Thunder are in?
I almost think so.
Yeah.
I really like Bradley. I've liked him for a long time. I'm worried about his injury situation though. Like I'm not sure if he's gonna come here. If you do that and then he comes here and pulls like that
I mean,
hamstring doesn't heal up, that's not good.
But also then you face what if? Like what if?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
You know? So who do you go? Simmons or Bradley? Who do you prefer?
God, that's tough. I like Simmons because I like his game.
Well, let's
and
do
I
this.
Like that you-
Courtney Lee, Simmons, or Bradley?
I'm going Simmons still. I think because the contract situation.
That's my
If you
thing.
got him for 3 years, he's a great player. You saw.
Not a great player,
Well,
but
not great.
I
That
know
was
what you mean.
Over.
Though. Hey, don't
we
beat
talked-
yourself up,
Yeah,
man.
not gonna beat
we
myself up.
talked
Calm
about Thunder
down.
players knowing their role. You know, Simmons fits that
Yeah,
perfectly.
he's a perfect role player. As like with San Antonio, also he fit that team great.
Yeah, I
And
mean, he's
think-
been there and done
and
that.
Yeah, I think he can come here and do that.
Which, Avery Bradley's also been there and done
Yeah.
that. Courtney Lee's done a little bit of it. But the fact that
Courtney
Jonathan...
Lee, I'm kind of concerned about coming here and just having the.
I don't trust him.
Yeah, I don't think he's trustworthy. Like
If we're looking at
he's
just-
streaky.
And he makes the most money out of all three of these guys.
If
Right.
we're looking at just for the rest of this season, I think I like Courtney Lee the most. But if we're looking
Really?
at everything, I think I like Jonathan Simmons the most.
Yeah, I think I go Simmons. I love the fact that he was in a series against Harden last year.
Yeah.
I think that means so much.
And he's got grit, man.
Yeah.
That's what we've talked about before. Like, I want this team to have
He's
grit.
a pretty
That's
solid
what they
offensive
need.
player.
And yeah,
Yeah, he can make a play for himself if he needs to.
Yep, he can cut
Huge.
well.
I would be really happy if we could make that.
So would I.
And then a name you brought up, Tony Allen. He's on a 1 year deal. He's making the minimum. Is he washed? Is it worth it?
So
If you can do Tony Allen for Houston straight across the board,
Yeah, you do that.
really?
Yeah.
According to Evan McDonald, Tony Allen hurt his knee back in December and recently had a setback. Apparently, didn't know that. So
Also didn't know
kind
that.
of puts a little.
I saw he's played 22 games this season. So depending on his health, this is going to be a thing. But is Tony Allen even a guy? Say he's healthy. Is he a guy that comes in and starts for this team? At this point, he's
I think he could.
35,
I think he
36 years
could.
old.
He's old.
Again, he doesn't have to play a lot of minutes, but I think he could come in and start.
Yeah, he
Just let him
kind of.
hound
I
somebody
mean,
for a
he's
while.
basically a plug and play Dre.
Yeah.
Pretty
but like
much.
an older one that's not as good.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's a fair comp. He just doesn't have the size Dre has.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the same thing with Avery Bradley. You know, Avery Bradley's 6'2", Dre's 6'7".
right. And I think Allen is 6'4". What is Simmons?
Simmons is 6'6", 215.
6'6".
You really knew
I like that
well.
more.
Oh, yeah, I wrote about him in the article,
article,
as well.
bro.
Good.
What about this one? Garrett Temple.
I like Garrett Temple.
This is a guy that makes a lot of sense now. Before the Robertson injury, I didn't
Not so
love it.
much,
I didn't
right.
love it, but now it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and Sacramento's going to be sellers on those vets.
Yeah. So he's on a
Right.
2-year deal, $16 million, but next year is a player option. So essentially a 1-year deal. But that player option comes to effect for the Thunder here because if you're thinking he's gonna opt in, that $8 million goes against your salary cap in a year when you're already loaded.
You're going to be
Yeah.
paying him about... No, you're not going to be paying him, but you're going to be
Right.
paying for him about $15 million.
So much.
Yeah.
Right. So that becomes an issue there. But maybe you can trade him. Maybe he might be a guy that you need. But do you like the fit here?
I do like him. I think he's got a good game.
I really like Garrett
And
Temple.
Does
And
he
like you
start for
said-
this team?
maybe.
I think he could. Again, I think he could. I think really anyone that we're talking about right now, even though I love Terrence Ferguson, I think you value that experience over a 19-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to that whole foul thing. Like, I think he can stay in a game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, he's not, like, if you're going against Harden, like, he's not going to just foul out in 4 seconds.
I did purposely put the guys I thought could come in and start on this list as I'm revealing. Now we're getting to the guys that I'm a little more worried about. What about a guy like Lance Thomas?
I love Lance Thomas.
Lance Thomas as a person.
Now he's not a guard
No.
like technically Andre Robertson is, but he's a wing and he can shoot the 3-ball a little bit at this point in his career. He's on a 3-year contract, which is about $7 million a year. Seems a little overpaid.
Yeah.
Third year's a player option. Wait, no, third year's non-guaranteed. That'd be weird if Lance Thomas had a player option.
Presty wouldn't have to give him the tour of the memorial
True.
again. He's already done that,
He's
so that's
the
good.
most normal man in the entire NBA.
He wrote a great, like, moving article about
That's
Melo.
true. That's
he's
true.
very close with Melo, and he's, I'm assuming, close with Russ. 'Cause
Like
he was
this?
here.
Do you like this fit as far as depth goes? Think this is a good target because he might be a guy you can get for relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be able to just give up Arenas for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back. I like him,
He's a good guy. I like him.
but I don't think it's gonna, like, super help us.
Nah. But I mean, hey, it's trade deadline's coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't just look at things like, well, what are we gonna do that's
What's
gonna
the blockbuster?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Amon Shumpert, a guy that Presti's coveted over the course of his career, a guy that's dealt with injuries a lot lately, a guy that's constantly in Cleveland Cavaliers rumors as
Yep.
far as who they're looking to trade.
Presti wanted him back 2 years before he even went to Cleveland.
Yep.
I am completely over Amon Shumpert.
Over it.
I'm so over him.
He's on a 2-year deal. This is a guy. This is a Presti guy. Defense first. Not a great offensive player, but he's on a 2-year deal, $21 million, so about $10 million a year. Player option next season.
No, I don't like that contract now.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
too
still
much
had
money
the,
for him.
if
It's a
you
no
still had
from
the
you,
flat
dogs?
top,
That's gonna be
I
a no
maybe
for me,
would do
dog.
it.
How about this one? Stanley Johnson.
I do like-
Terrible player. Terrible player.
He feels like a Presti guy, doesn't he?
Yes. He's
he
young.
can't dribble, pass, or shoot. Bring him in.
No, he's shooting like 35% on the
Yeah,
season.
that's from the field, not from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
That's from the field.
Yeah, so he can't shoot, but he's a decent defender. He's got good size. A big thing, and this is a common thing, but a big thing with this, what the Thunder are going to look for is that switchability because Robertson can switch 1 through 4, sometimes
Yep.
5.
Right.
Yep.
So you're going to want a guy that can do a little bit of that. And Tony Allen, like we talked about, he's the guy that can do a little bit of that. Jonathan Simmons, he might be a 1 through 3 to 4, maybe. Courtney Lee,
Nope.
1 through 3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Maybe Avery Bradley 1 through 3.
Yeah.
So
And some threes are gonna
Garrett
be tough
Temple,
for him
1
'cause he's
through
not tall.
maybe 4 if you're lucky, but he's not the defender. I don't think these other guys are.
No.
So Stanley Johnson, would you be for this? Giving up, maybe you don't give up Houston in a 2nd-round pick for him.
I would do that for Stanley Johnson, yeah.
I wouldn't mind.
Is Stanley Johnson
Stanley.
in a...
Rookie scale, yeah. I just guessed what you're gonna ask
Yeah, no, he's...
incorrectly.
No, you're good. His rookie scale's up this year, though, isn't it?
He's got 2 years left.
Oh, wow.
This year and next year.
Okay.
3.5
That makes a
per.
little more sense then.
Here's my favorite one. Not my favorite one, but one of my favorites. Lance Stevenson.
Lance will make him dance.
Huh?
Bring in Lance.
2 years, $8.5 million, so about
He'd be perfect now.
$4 million a year. He's got a team. It's a team option next year, so you can just decline that.
Because you definitely would. Sorry, bro.
How do you feel about bringing Lance in?
I like it
Little
now.
spark
I
plug?
didn't like it before, but I do like it now. Although I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think Indiana's sending him away.
I don't think Indiana.
You don't think so?
They've realized that the only team he can play for in the NBA is the Indiana Pacers. Otherwise, he's complete shit.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it is the case.
It's true.
And their crowd loves the guy.
I think he could be fun. He has that little
he's
grit
fun.
about him. I think that he is a competitor. I mean, he likes to compete.
He's
He's
strange.
He's been with Paul George in that situation before. I think
Yeah.
that he would come in and look forward to competing in the playoffs. You guys still on board with Marco Bellinelli, or does this Robertson injury change things a little bit?
I think it changed stuff a little bit.
Yeah,
It does a little, but I'd still be for Bellinelli.
like,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be all right with it. But
What about
I mean,
J-
it's not ideal now. I think I'd prefer Simmons for sure.
Here's a fun
obviously.
one: Justice Winslow.
I do like Justice Winslow.
Do
I
you?
liked him coming out of college.
I don't know much about him. Like he's
I
been
rarely watch Heat games ever.
He's athletic.
he's been very underwhelming though through his
Yeah.
career. I mean,
Yeah.
like a lot of people when he was coming out in the draft were making a case that he was like a top 5 guy, and he
Yeah.
ended up sliding to I think 9 or
Somewhere around
something.
there. It was like, it was 8 or 9.
Yeah, so he's obviously on his rookie contract right now. He's had some injury issues early on, but Presti has a history of trading for these guys that have gone in the lottery that haven't necessarily lived up to the hype. He has a history. You talk about Cantor, Dion Waiters, some of these guys that he's traded for. Justice Winslow kind of falls in that. He has that same mindset. He's an undersized guy, but he can switch.
Yeah, and the only thing with what you just said there, Presti does like going for those guys, but most of the time those guys come from maybe a little bit questionable organizations. And Justice Winslow being in the culture of the Miami Heat, I don't know,
Yeah.
if he can't flourish in the Heat culture, is he going to come to Oklahoma City? And is it going to be much of a culture change that's going to change his career trajectory? you know?
It's hard to say, but you never know if the Heat might like someone like Abrinas. Be like, this is the type of guy that we need to bring in because the Heat are full of these role players that are athletic, long, good
Yep.
defensively. They have an abundance of these guys. And so maybe they're just kind of looking to piece their team together at this point. You never know if they might be looking to get rid of a guy like Justice Winslow. Aaron Aflalo.
Shut up.
He's a guy that Thunder fans have wanted in the past, but now he's not good at basketball anymore.
Yeah, he's terrible. And he punches people on the side of the head.
That's true. He's a veteran.
Can't even throw a good punch.
Yeah, he
He's a
misses
veteran,
punches on the side of
But
the
is
head.
there any chance you bring in a guy like this and it revitalizes him a little bit? It kind of rejuvenates him and makes him like, okay, now I care about this sport again.
I guess that could happen.
I'd bring
you got to
him.
think about
It
these
probably
things.
could.
I'd bring him in if he was attached to a Jonathan Simmons. Jonathan Simmons deal. I would do it. If they're like,
I don't know how we're
we'll
gonna
trade
do
you
that.
Jonathan Simmons, but you also have to take on Aaron Aflalo and send us back another second. Okay.
I'd be all right with that.
You cool with that? Here's a Pelicans guy, Dante Cunningham. I don't think the Pelicans are giving him up, especially given that they lost Cousins. They need
Right.
They need those front court guys, and he's kind of a 3-4. But he's an interesting name. He's a guy that can stretch the floor a little
He's
bit.
okay.
What about DeAndre Liggins, who's on a 10-day with the Pelicans?
I don't think we're ever bringing him back, man.
Do we
No?
have, are there enough Xboxes in
can't
here?
throw more Xboxes
Hey,
at girls.
it's in the past, man.
Not-
it's time
not
to
for
forget.
Presti.
There's
it's
no
not.
way Presti will take him back.
Bummer. Last one. Corey Brewer of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Dude, no, I hate Corey Brewer so much.
No.
Just a no?
Just
I
a
mean,
straight up no.
I wouldn't be upset if they did it, I guess. I wouldn't be like,
I would.
but I.
You know he once scored 50 in a game?
Yes.
It doesn't surprise
I
me.
remember that.
Could happen again.
Has he scored 50 in a season since?
It could
That's a good
happen
point.
again.
He's so bad.
It couldn't happen.
He does not fit in the modern day NBA.
But yeah,
And he wears his headband so damn high on his head,
yeah,
it just
it's very-
pisses me
I don't know
off.
how it stays on there.
Not
He's
in
got to
a-
have headband glue, don't you?
Not an attractive fella.
No.
Not a good-
He's on that weird face list. He should be.
Yeah, no, he's on there. He's on there, however long that list is.
Possible former crack smoker.
Last question for you guys, and this is a doozy, and it's really hard and not fair. Should Presti consider trading Robertson?
Yeah.
Listen, hear me out.
Whoa!
If he had an opportunity to get a guy with a larger salary, so Robertson's $10 million contract would play a part in this, and it was a really good player, such as I think I was gonna use JJ Redick as an example, but I think he makes too much money as it is. $23 million is just too much. I don't think the Thunder could ever match that. But you know what I mean. A guy that can make an impact like a JJ Redick can for this season. Should he consider that or no chance?
I really hate this idea, but I feel like it'd be weird for another team to take on a guy who's out for the year. That'd be a weird move.
It
for
would,
them.
but it'd be betting on the future of
Yeah,
him,
right.
liking what he would, basically his principles and what he brings to your organization.
Right. Yeah.
It'd have to be a home run. I think
Yeah.
Presti would consider it,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
yeah.
it has to be a home run.
I mean, if you could somehow swing the JJ thing,
Yeah, he just
but
makes
that
too much
seems-
money.
Yeah, it seems like it wouldn't work, but
I should have come up with a better.
but if it's someone of JJ's caliber, then yeah, I don't have an idea in my head, but
It'd be scary to think about, but when you look at the guys that Presti has sent out, when you Oladipo and Sabonis and these guys that have long-term contracts, it's kind of interesting because those are holding value in today's NBA right now because you want those guys that are going to be on the books for a few years as opposed to just having guys.
at good numbers too.
Right, exactly. Want to do
all
some
right.
Twitter questions?
Let's do some tweets and questions.
Okay.
Why did I- I don't know why I said it like that.
Mm.
All right. Start off with a couple funnies.
Couple bunnies.
r/Thunder at Reddit Thunder. Are GIFs running when we switch tabs? How do we know?
What a great question.
It's kind of boggled my mind since I read it earlier.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
You don't know.
You can't know.
How
Because you
could-
switch tabs.
You would have to do some sort of experiment where you switch back and
You could
have
do.
it-
I guess you could do like a process. You could look at the process of Chrome and see if it dips down a little bit
That's
when you
true.
switch, but it probably doesn't.
Yeah, but that's even getting too technical, I think. So what if you just had a GIF that's going through its motions, and then you look at the stopping point when you click the next tab, and then you see
Oh.
when you click back if it picks up at that same stopping point.
That's way easier way to tell.
But it might be hard. It might be impossible to use that.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good one. All right, Boomtown at BoomOU updated. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the saddest, how sad are you when Donovan tries to put Abrinas on other white/light-skinned guys and it still ends terribly?
I'm more sad that he just can't stay on the
Yeah.
floor. It's such a bummer because he could be such a useful weapon if he could just hold his own somewhat defensively.
I'm going to go a 9 on that scale, though. I'm very sad about
Yes.
it. Super sad.
I'll go 10.
Thunder on the Brain at TOTB 2018. Why Joel talk the talk if he can't walk the walk? It's a great point.
That is a great point. Whenever he started getting in with Russ a bit today, I was like, aren't you scheduled to miss about 20 games pretty soon?
I just love that Russ came out on top. I love that the Thunder beat them both times they played this season. I love that they didn't give Philly a chance or an opportunity to have bragging rights. Love it.
Someone earlier, can't remember your name again, in the YouTube thing, brought up Joel's Twitter, and he posted tough loss with a picture of him dunking on Russ and said hashtag the process. Kind of a dick move.
Well, yeah, and the location on that said crime scene investigation.
What a dick. He's funny, though.
You can take the L.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny is he's in, year 5 now, and he's still eligible for the rookie-sophomore game.
Yeah,
so
seriously.
that says all we need to know about Joel.
Low blow, bro.
Low bro blow.
T at Drinking Tea is a smiling mellow the purest thing on the Mother Earth.
So
I
good.
think it is.
It
It makes
warms
me.
my heart.
It makes me happy.
It moisturizes my skin.
It's true.
Swear to God.
It's a little
Like I
frightening.
see it happen, and I'm just refreshed.
MBMG at MBMG OKC. If you had to choose and your life depended on it, would you choose A, Abrinas not fouling someone in a game, or B, Robertson being 50% from the free throw line?
Easily Robertson because
Yeah,
that means
big.
he's playing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Michael Clampett at Michael Clampett. Would you rather fight 5 Isaiah Thomas-sized Steven Adams or 1 Adams-sized Westbrook?
Oh my God.
I think the 5 Isaiah Thomas
So
sized
5 Isaiah Thomas sized
Steven Adams or 1 Adams-sized Westbrook. I'm definitely going the 5 Adams.
That is a hard question.
That is.
I think I'm going the 5 Adams because Russ being the size of Steven Adams is the scariest thing I've ever heard of.
I feel like
to
the
have to
5
fight.
little Steven Adams would just lock you up where you couldn't move. Though.
Either
or
way,
they'd
you're
get on
getting your
each
ass
other's
kicked.
shoulders and just
Yeah.
stack up really tall,
That's true, and get an offensive rebound and dunk.
yeah.
They would stack together. They would have the trench coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in Space Jam, like the
The Monstars.
yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Well, before they were the Monstars.
yeah.
I forget what they were
The
called
little
before
mini
that.
ones.
What
Yeah.
were they called?
Damn, I don't know.
They were from Moron Mountain. I don't know if they had a name. Did they have a name?
I don't know.
Someone from YouTube know what they were called?
Help us out. Anyways, so on to the real questions. Bryson Taylor at Bryson Taylor 13. Would you rather have OKC trades for someone like Bradley or start Patterson and get a playmaker on the bench?
I would rather get someone that can step in and start personally.
Same.
Yeah, that would be the goal to me. Dave Simmons at Dave EUG. Crazy buyout idea. What about Vince Carter?
He can play off the bench a little bit.
Andy Adams brought him up to me today, and I kind of like that idea a little.
It's interesting.
Cool. I mean, we're just getting older.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
If that roster spot's
The
available.
dude
and
can still play. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he can just be a spot up guy for this team.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to it.
I like
He
it.
might be a guy that can close.
Yeah.
In the
You
maybe
can
not-
trust him.
He's like
Sort of.
41
He's old, though.
though or something.
Super old.
I don't know.
Kerry Cicero at Cis66. Should the NBA go go to the top 16 seeds for playoffs and disregard conferences.
I've always wanted this.
I'm into this idea.
I love it.
Also,
I mean,
And they can't complain about travel because the league makes so much money.
my only problem with it is it kind of like, why even have conferences at that point?
well, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. You would have to.
It's-
I think you would have like divisions to just make the travel schedule easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you change up the divisions a little bit too.
Yeah.
And maybe make like 4 major divisions instead of like 8 divisions.
Right.
Or 10 or however many they have now.
And then also it's like the historical stuff kind of goes away, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I think this would be a great idea. I think it would make it more exciting, more fair, and yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. I mean, who wouldn't like to actually see this Thunder
16 best
team
teams.
with a chance to like get further in the playoffs, or that Rockets team have a chance to get to the finals, or you know
Right,
what?
yeah.
Like there's more. It creates more fun. It also puts more emphasis on the regular season.
Yeah, like your seeding really would matter at
Right.
that point, like a lot more. Johnny at Triple Double VGC. Paul George has been getting less and less touches in the last 2 games. Should they be involving him in more 1-3 pick and rolls, letting PG bring the ball up and be a ball handler, or is it about right now?
You know, I don't know if I agree with that. I'd have to look at the tracking numbers.
It
But-
feels to me like he's been really involved lately.
You know, you look at his last 2 games, he had 13 shot attempts versus Detroit and 17 shot attempts versus Philly. But in those games, he had 12 free throws versus Detroit and 11 free throw attempts versus Philly.
So
Now-
add another 5 or 6 shots to that, right?
So I think the key here, Jacob, is that he's getting the ball and he's making the best of his opportunities, and
Yep.
he's really learning where those opportunities are coming. You know, he's done such a good job. He's been so confident lately, offensively.
Yeah.
You know, like he's been so sure of what he's doing.
Right.
Decisive.
Yeah,
He's been very
decisive.
decisive.
And that's goes back to earlier this year. You know, we were talking about. It seems like these guys are thinking so much, and now it's like PG finally is the third one to hit that. Like it seems like Russ was like, "Oh, I'm going to be me again." Okay,
Right.
got it. Melo, I'm going to do my role.
Right.
I'm going to do the thing that they need me to do. Okay, now he's more comfy.
Yep.
And then PG's finally like, "Oh, I can be this guy."
Is
Like,
there anything better than PG just getting hot from 3? He's
No.
been dominating first quarters lately.
yeah.
It's
I
so
mean,
weird
that's
when
been
he's
his-
just
yeah,
wide
16
open to me.
against Detroit.
16, or how many do you have today? I think he had 10 or 11 in the first
Yeah.
quarter today. Then he had 16 in the first quarter versus the Nets.
When it
earlier
seems
this
like
week.
they're really focusing on getting him going, it's kind of something we talked
Yeah.
about a lot of like focus on him on offensively and let him get started.
And the
it
question-
seems like it works.
The question of like, does he need to be more involved at the end? As you know, blah blah blah. I think the results and the point totals tell you all you need to know.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's going pretty good.
I really like the idea of PG going to start and then Russ being
Kind
the
of
closer,
finishing it
because
off,
Russ
yeah.
is really good at it.
True. And one more thing on that. Paul George has done a really good job going to the rim lately. He had some
Agreed.
insane finishes today in the 76ers game.
Agreed. Aaron at @yount_15. Would you lean more towards trying to fill the starting spot? And did we already do this?
Yeah, it feels like we already
I
did
feel
that
like
one.
I just talked about that. Sorry. Zach Prince at Zach Prince 25. Do you think the team will have more of a chance of getting someone that can help in a trade, in the buyout market, or free agency?
I think your best bet is, I think that's the order: trade, then buyout, then free agency.
I
Yeah.
think so too.
Most
Which
likely.
buyout and free agency are kind of the same thing in a way,
Sort of.
but yeah.
James Winskill at Winskill 1969. Was that Adams' best game this year?
I don't know.
I think
You'd
he's
have
had
to.
some really good ones.
Yeah.
though.
You'd have to go through the game. Like he said some good. It was one of the best ones. What 10 for 11 today? I think. Man, he was a beast. He was
Yeah.
a beast.
Yeah.
And against stout
And-
competition.
Right.
He's becoming more underrated as the season goes on.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
guy is good. The
I
guy-
Like Bobby
I
Marks
actually think
said,
it's
he's
cool.
worth every penny.
I actually think it's really cool that national media is starting to see him
he
finally.
literally might be a top 30 player in this league.
Yeah.
He's
Do you put him
he's
top
really
5
good.
center right now?
Yeah, I mean, I need to sit down and look, but he might be. He really
we
might
definitely
be.
put him top 10 before. We
Yeah.
we had listed
He might
that
be
up.
hovering around
I
that
think
5
he's
spot.
he's definitely climbing up there
Mhm.
for sure. Evan McDeasy at Evan ETM. Who do you think the most realistic trade target? Tyreek, Tabo, Avery, or Courtney Lee?
Well, Tabo's out for the year.
Tabo's
Tabo's
out.
a no.
The realistic, I go Avery Bradley here. I think that he's in that situation maybe not be the best form that he
Right.
doesn't like, so they might be looking to get rid of him. And Detroit's kind of been reeling lately, so maybe they're looking to go a little younger. He's got the most workable contract out of these guys, aside from Tyreek. But like you've talked about in the past, Jacob, Tyreek, they're probably looking for something more in return for him, just because they know that he, as a ball handler, more teams might want to come after him.
Yep.
All right.
So I'd probably go Avery, Tyreek, and then Courtney Lee.
Yeah.
So I would flip Tyreek and Courtney Lee in my book. Also, just to go back to the Steven Adams thing real quick, this is something I wanted to bring up earlier. Steven Adams is 4th in the league in screen assists right now.
He's so good.
I think that's something that's super underrated that we don't talk enough about, is whenever Steven Adams gets a screen on somebody, that person does not get around that screen, and it opens up so much stuff for Russ and PJ.
And like Butler said, it makes him feel like his life ended.
Yes.
Kevin Aitken at K Aitken22. With Dre out, should we see more of a Russ, PG, Melo, Pat, and Adams lineup?
I think it's a matchup thing. I'd be interested in seeing it.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that earlier with
I think
the T-Ferg thing. Like, do you kind of, based on your matchups, do you do that? Do you slide Pat in there sometimes to start, or just use it more?
The big thing there is Melo at the 3, and I think at this point in his career, he's just not that.
Yeah.
He's not that, and I think you get yourself in some trouble.
Defensively, right, yeah.
And you have him in this mindset lately. He talked about it in the game, after the game the other night, where rebounding. He's really focusing on rebounding because he doesn't like going in the film room and getting
called out.
And so you have him in this sweet spot right now,
right.
And I think you want to keep him there. You don't.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with what he's got going on right now
I'm
because it's
with
working out really well.
Also, Melo's a really good extra passer. Have you noticed that? Since he's bought into the spot up roll, he's a great, just like catches the ball in the swing and makes the one extra pass to the really wide open guy.
I think it's huge that he shown confidence in guys like Ferguson.
I think that's been massive for Ferguson's confidence. Like, that's got.
I mean, Ferguson talked about growing up like worshiping that guy, and now to have that guy making the extra pass to you. That's got to just.
I would just catch the ball and be like,
yeah,
look. G. Vieira Nascimento at GV Nascimento. Are you guys fans of inserting Grant into the starting 5? OKC's pretty much a positionless team right now. Adding Grant would maintain Dre's versatility on defense. He sucks at passing and cutting, though. 2 of Dre's best qualities. Agreed.
I'm good with sticking with T-Ferg.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to space the floor more for you, even though he's not. What is he, like 28% from 3? But I'll still take it.
I also think the bench needs Grant.
Yes.
I think he's
your versatile guy, so use him how you need to use him, and I think the best way to do that is by bringing him off the bench.
Agreed. All right, Mr. B at Mr. Balmforth. What has been the most impressive part of the current win streak, apart from Russ's torn sweatshirt, of course?
That was a pretty good look.
Pretty crazy
To me, it's been Russ closing. It's just been the fact that this dude just keeps doing this. And it just doing. I mean, he's such a superstar, and we have, as Thunder fans, we have to just appreciate what he does. Just the fact, his confidence to go in the end of games and just say, I got this.
Right.
And do it.
Time
in and time out.
Mine is Paul George getting comfortable.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I think it kind of coincides with him, with Russ having his back and everything. Even though that might be overplayed a little, but I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it actually helped their on-court chemistry some, and it's strange. But
I'd go with, I've been really impressed with the bench. Obviously now that whole bench unit's kind of messed up with the absence of Dre, but the bench really came in some fourth quarters at the beginning of fourth quarters and really saved this team a few times and really
AKA
balled out.
Raymond Felton.
Yeah, Raymond Felton balled out, and
saved the day.
A lot of the kind of the perspective was that OKC didn't have a great bench, and I think they really proved that they can be a solid bench, So
that goes to show you what a 8-game winning streak can do for you, though. That all 3 of us have different answers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's nice. It's
good. It's nice when we're back
Let's
to
do
winning.
Notes.
Notes.
All right. The NBA laid out a plan on how they want to legalize sports gambling for the first time. It includes the NBA getting 1% of every bet made on its games. I'm for it.
That'd be a hefty penny. I bet you are for it.
Oh, I'm so
you?
for it. I'm so for it. Scotty Brooks called Paul George the best two-way player in basketball.
Can't disagree.
I like it.
That's a hefty title. I like it. Scotty Brooks is trying to come back to OKC.
Scotty Brooks also had some weird comments, too.
He did.
Like when he said...
He's a bit of a peculiar fella.
They said, how did it feel being the person to come back last year and get the best ovation? And he said, well, I was the only one that didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of uncomfortable, dude. Don't say that.
I think that was more of a shot at the other guys.
Yeah, I think it was tongue-in-cheek, too.
Yeah.
LeBron James revealed that him and Steph Curry are not allowed to serve as the All-Star captains next season. So even if those two are voted first, have the highest fan votes, they're not allowed to serve as captains.
That's cool.
That is cool. Next step, I think, in this All-Star thing is to eliminate the conferences.
Yep.
That has to be
100%.
done. And maybe next, as Carrie Cicero asked, they can
Eliminate
move on.
conferences completely.
Right. The NBA announced a 5-pronged initiative to address relationship issues between players and referees, including referee staffs will conduct meetings with all 30 teams to discuss rule interpretations, on-court conduct, and expectations. Meetings will take place before the All-Star break. The league will re-emphasize its respect for the game rules with referees, coaches, and players to ensure enforcement of those violations. The NBA Referee Operations Department will expand its overall rules education initiative for coaches, players, and team personnel to ensure clarity of the game's rules and interpretations. Referees will undergo training in conflict resolution, and the league will seek common ground between all parties.
That is some large prongs.
Have you ever thought about like pursuing a career and being that guy at the end of like the car commercial that says all the like the legal shit really fast?
Me? You think I could do
Yeah,
it?
I think you could do it.
I don't know, man. I'll try, though.
I think part of the
I think I
reason
freeze up.
I think part of the reason with this feud between refs and players is a lot of it is the refs aren't
Some deals may not apply.
just the relationship, you know, like they're talking about like, oh, we'll like give you classes on how the rules work to make sure there's clarity.
Right.
Like I don't think there's disagreement between clarity of rules as much as it's like
Call them.
I want
properly.
to engage with you on why I don't think this call is right, and then you tee me up for it, and the refs won't even like speak to the players anymore. You know,
I think Jeff Van Gundy had a great point though that needs to get through to the players somehow. Of stop complaining on every call.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to stop.
Yeah, there's a rift here, and it's almost just like you can't reconcile
Right.
here because like it's too big of a rift.
Yeah.
I don't know. They needed something like this.
They
I
definitely
think.
do. I hope it helps. But yeah, because I mean, if you're complaining every call though, like you lose credibility when you complain about a real call. It's
Right.
Boy who cried wolf or whatnot and all that.
Carmelo Anthony hit the 25,000 points milestone. He is the 21st all-time leading scorer in the NBA, so the 21st guy to do that. Hit 25,000 points. Pretty awesome accomplishment. You look at other names on that list.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Pretty cool. And the Thunder's win streak against the 76ers is now 18 games.
I saw that the last time Philly beat Oklahoma City, Joel Embiid was 13.
Wow.
And PJ Carlissimo was the coach.
Oh god,
Smoking cigarettes at halftime.
getting choked out by Steven Jackson.
Yeah, that too. All right, up next on Tuesday, the Thunder go to Washington. They beat them last week, if you remember.
That was a fun game.
On Thursday, they go to Denver. Those two have split the season series so far. Second night of a back-to-back, Thunder come home to face the DeMarcus Cousins-less
Oh,
New Orleans Pelicans.
poor guys.
And on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday afternoon game, they host the Lakers, who they've completely dominated in both matchups this year. Everyone lost a point last week except you, Jason, who took 4-0 and you nailed it. I don't know how you did it.
I knew. I just knew, you know.
Justin's
I actually, whenever I saw Dre go down, I was like, oh, gee, there goes my 4-0.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. Though.
wrong. Justin's going 3-1 this week. Rob is going 3-1 this week. What do you got, Jacob?
I'm gonna join the club.
It stole my thunder.
Oh, 3-1.
Hey, stole my thunder.
What do you go?
3-1.
I'm going 2-2.
Ooh.
I think it's a tough week for the Thunder.
I agree.
Yeah. Who do you think they're losing to? Washington, Denver?
I think they lose one of those games, and I think they lose one of the home games. That's what I'll go with. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads and Jacob's over at ThunderMod405. Subscribe on YouTube. If you watch us on YouTube Live, thanks so much.
And thank you guys for chatting in there. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for your Twitter questions. Sorry we couldn't get to them all. We got a ton, so we really appreciate that. Keep them coming. Also, subscribe on iTunes. Check us out on OKCThunderheads.com. Jacob's got his trade primer dropping tomorrow. You can find us on Facebook, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Overcast, and we are now on Spotify. Nailed it.
Go get it.
We'll catch you guys on Wednesday with another podcast. So till then, and as always, Thunder up.